everybody. Let's just make sure that we've got all our settings up, and I want to try and jump into the game as early as I can. So, yep, everything seems to be in order. So I'll get some of the details out of the way for a start, and then I'll load up the game because there's a wonderful cutscene in this, in the opening, and I always keep talking over it. So this is the second Wednesday of the month, which traditionally is, since we've gone online for this, it is the traditional time for Dirty Rectangles. I actually messed this up last month. I think there was one a week earlier. But what normally happens here, it used to be the third Wednesday of every month, and I would go to a physical location for it. So it meant that streaming was very difficult, if not impossible to do, and then sort of attend at the right time. But because it's an online format, as much as I really miss meeting a lot of the good folks down in Ottawa, and in fact, there's a weird brace yourself connection to this as well, but we can get into that a little bit later. But that is causing me to stream an hour earlier, and unfortunately, it does mean that I'm also going to be ending an hour earlier. So it'll be about a 2-hour stream. I'm going to try and run it for as long as I can, because I do know that sometimes there's a little bit of a lead in to the Dirty Rectangle stream that we don't necessarily need to watch. But my plan is to host them in the evening. And it's just, it's a local game dev collective. They have tolerated a couple of my presentations on sort of game data and subjects like that, some of the stuff I did for KitFox. There's a lot of interesting games that come out of it. Some stuff that I don't know if that'll be quite appealing to the audience. But the thing is that you're never going to find anything interesting if you don't, if you don't experiment and if you don't expose yourself to things that are not necessarily your first choice. And particularly, I've tended to find things that don't look like something that I would enjoy, but actually give it a try. I tend to be a little surprised in terms of what's sort of lying underneath. So I've definitely been pleasantly surprised more than a couple of times by things. And it's one of the reasons why I really want to continue to support that as well as I can. But I'm also very aware of the fact that Industries of Titan is a game that I would like to play a lot more than I actually do. And given that the update, basically the Dirty Rectangles date falls a week after an update to Industries of Titan, it means that the majority of stuff that I would do in the latest update sometimes gets stepped on by that update. So I've been trying to do a few more broadcasts on this day, even if they wind up being shorter ones, and then try and pass on some of the the good feelings into the local game dev scene. So I hope you can appreciate the reason why this will be a bit of a shorter stream. And of course, before I load up the game, I will just say, as always, Industries of Titan is a game that Brace Yourself very kindly gave me a key for promotional purposes for. It gets a little irritating to say it very often, and I know I've noticed there's a brand of people listing keys that were given as sponsorships, and that's not good, but I understand why people do that because it makes them look a little more connected or a little more official than they actually are. That's really bad to do, by the way, if you do that on your stream. But as irritating as it may be, and as much as it sort of is becoming a little bit harder to clarify what that means in an environment like this, the reason I do it is because it is important to disclose that in the States, it's actually a requirement. I believe it's a requirement in Canada as well, but it's a little bit harder to find the official guidelines. And while I have streamed this for over a year, and I'm obviously very grateful that Brace Yourself lets me stream this game, it's best to just be upfront and say, I was given a copy for promotional purposes. I like this game. If Brace Yourself said, hey, thanks, you're not not big enough, but we really appreciate the support. Would you mind kicking in your purchase price? Completely be willing to do it. But ultimately, it's up to you to decide whether or not those interests are something that might lead to a certain perception or a certain interest on my part in making you want to pick up the game. I do hope you do, and I hope you like it as much as I do. But that is why I say that, and that's why I continue to say that, as irritating as it is, because a lot of you who watch are regulars and you already know. But I have also learned I never know what YouTube video gets really popular, and it's good to be conspicuous about that and upfront, because if you don't, and somebody turns around and winds up picking up the game and they find out, I'd even say too, just the perception, right? If you picked up a game from someone who's really enthusiastic about it, and you find out after the fact that that person had some kind of a relationship, even if it was just a case of somebody getting a free, quote unquote free. I mean, obviously you stream, that streaming is work, but was given a promotional copy of a game, that might color your feeling about whether or not someone was sort of upfront. It might hurt your enjoyment of the game. So with that in mind, that's about as elaborate as a disclaimer as I can give on that. Let's jump into Industries of Titan so I can make the most of the short time that I have with all of you. I should maybe mention I'm going to have to step away for a minute partway through
Titan.
as well.
Everyone comes to Titan with a dream. Our moon is one of limitless wealth. There are ancient riches here for those with the strength to claim them. But some dreams start smaller. A better life, more dignity, more comfort. Today, Titan is a place where you can buy those dreams, where anyone can profit. But it isn't easy. You have to prove yourself here. Those who settle here take that risk. And without their diligent labor, our power grid would fail. Pollution would overwhelm us. And our trade would collapse. It's hard work, but on Titan, hard work isn't enough. The bold, the strong, those are the people Titan rewards. Those are the ones who see their dreams through. Exceptional people. Friends to the Council. That is why we're giving you this opportunity, Founder. We expect great things from you. Make sure you live up to our expectations.
I'll confess, one thing I'm kind of interested in that cinematic is you can see Einar Peer inside of it, but I'm curious if some of these other characters are ones we will meet later, or possibly they're ones who are already in the game and I just haven't realized who they are. But heavy fogs, ethane emissions, career progression. I don't seem to remember seeing this in the last time that we did, and we had an update for this. Okay, so let's jump into the excuse me. Let's jump into Paxson Solutions, our run that we began with the content pack update. This is the one that was sort of developed over the Christmas break. I'll confess, there's actually a bit more in this than I thought there was going to be, but we haven't really run into it because of my bad habit to take a really long time at the start. We'll talk a little bit about some of the decisions that I made and the consequences that they had, because certainly I failed in the initial attempt, but that doesn't mean that there aren't some things that I learned out of it. And on other planets, becoming a pilot can take years of study. On Titan, it's anyone's game. All right. So, oh yes, okay. Actually, if I recall correctly, if I load this save file... Oh, really? I thought I left a ha deal with the... Oh wait, no, sorry. This is threat level that we're not being attacked. Anyways, So my original intention with this base was to, or Citicorp, was to try and see what a sort of rapid setup sort of affair would be. And I didn't really deliver on that. One thing I'm kind of noticing is that, so I tried a few different attempts for, factory layouts and that. And I think I'm a little bit, I've fallen victim a little bit to having a set approach to some of my factories and to just some of the decisions that I make. And this has led to me, the best example I can think of is like programming, but you know how sometimes you're working on a problem and you're doing it the wrong way. You know, you're stuck on a particularly unproductive train of thought, but because it's either something you've done in the past or it's it's something that's worked for you, you've gotten the habit of sort of thinking in those ruts. I really don't like being in that state for myself. But I kind of think that that's happened a little bit in terms of my factory layouts. Again, not to say that my factory layouts are bad. It's just that they are built for a certain kind of enterprise. And particularly, I occasionally stop by some Titan streams, and I'm actually really impressed by how far people get in shorter periods of time. And I'm not watching them from the beginning. I'm just sort of seeing the state where they are, and they're these beautiful looking cities rather than sort of my cramped hovels that I have. I just kind of look at that stuff. I'm like, man, I wish I was good at this game like them. So every once in a while I want to try something new. But unfortunately this time around, my experimentation really didn't work out. And, I'm sort of back to my old tricks. But, with all of that in mind, I do have a few expansion plans. So, first thing that I need to think about is my isotopes. We are okay for isotopes, but by and large, we are facing down a shortage. So right now we've got 36 on the ground. In our storage, we've got a few high quality ones on the ground. And then as far as individual isotopes are concerned, we've got 18 in the ground and then another 4, I believe. I think this is the last one, with the exception of whatever else we find around the edges here. So essentially, that's 22 basic tier 1 isotopes that we've got. Which again, once you take a look at, once you bring them up to tier 3, that can probably get you a fair distance. But the thing is that isotopes get really, really important later on in the game. It's how you upgrade your buildings. So it's one of these things that I want to make sure that I have in place now, because if I don't deal with them, then my Citicorp is just simply not going to scale at the rate that I want it to. And that's going to be what kind of drives my decision to expand. So we've got an isotope node sitting down here, and with the expansion of our headquarters, we've also found that we've got a mineral node. So what's kind of nice here is that I can start coming up with some long-term plans for the overall layout of things. So for instance, pollution right now we don't need to worry about, but we are going to be putting a smokestack down, and we are going to be putting down some roads. So ideally I would want to put my my long-term offices and sort of workspaces away from the pollution. We're in a little bit of a difficult spot for this particular one, simply because we're sort of flanked by Zethane emissions. We've got the council on one side, we've got the spaceport on the other. So, we've got pollution generation from the mineral node and the isotope node. Once we put mines beside these things, it's going to be belching smoke. So that's not necessarily bad because, it's close enough to the council hall and spaceport. So maybe we'll want to kind of go left or right. But of course, if we're kind of close to Zethane emissions, we're back to the same problem, right? So what I'm probably going to wind up doing is sticking the residential areas somewhere around here. There is the Zethane emission kind of on this side of things, and it's not perfect, but when I just take a look at the sort of livability stats, actually it's not so bad over here, but I think I'd probably want to put, I guess there's two things, which is one, I'd probably want to put a Zethane, or like a turbine over here, fuel turbine. Actually in here would be even better. And then number 2 is the question as to whether or not I can expand out to it. But yeah, so maybe something around here might be a little bit better. And then we have, I think the best spot for the fuel turbine would be something along these lines, especially because it's going to be beside the mineral node. But we can worry about that later. I think we're in a good spot as far as power and fuel are concerned right now. That, of course, invites some questions in terms of where I'm going to draw the road. So I think previously I talked about sort of running a road sort of down into the side like this. But if my housing and such is going to wind up sort of on this side of the city, I'm actually going to want to have the original highway plan. So, nice little corridor up here, and we run it by the mineral node. Again, we can worry about the details as it goes by, and we are going to build some research facilities to make sure that we are able to clear out the pollution and such. But that's kind of the broad strokes in terms of what my overall plan is going to be. Now, some other details that I want to take care of. We do have a shortfall of workers, so I would like to convert a few more people. I've got space for 24. This is because we upgraded our headquarters recently, so I can convert 8 more citizens into efficient workers, and we do have the red artifacts for that. And then we would also like to get our citizens in shape, because we are currently generating a surplus, but we're certainly not generating as big of a surplus as we would like. And then, of course, it would be a good idea to sort of build up the factory and such. But again, we needed to deal with rebel attack, so we dealt with the higher priority at the time. This is, we're level 2 on that. So anyways, those are the long-term plans. What matters, of course, is the implementation. So let's get a move on. Let's go up to floor 2. We'll get a couple of conversions in, and currently don't have anybody for the new role. Okay. We're still draining batteries, so priority number 1, let's get the replacements down. We're just going to do another generator floor. This is the reason I'm doing it this way. This is not the right. 10 is not good enough. No, stop. I am leaving some construction units on the table. Hey, Night Valiant, how you doing? Better not. I'm feeling better, but not cured, let's say. But thank you for asking. How are you doing? I'm actually a little tempted to just stick a couple conversion capsules back down. If I'm going to do that, I should do that with tier 3s, though. It does drain my power a bit, but we're in a good spot. And that's 2 each, so 2, 4, 6, 8. We're actually going to be short on fuel. But I can safely turn one of ththose things off if I need. We can also upgrade the fuel turbine, but again, we'll try and drag this out as well as we'll try and drag our minimal fuel out for as long as we can. Allergies and Messernet, but doing okay? Well, I'm glad to hear that. I just started Industries of Titan tonight. I'm going to be going a little. I gotta think about the right way to handle my lack of power. If I shut down the factory, if I shut down both, it doesn't really serve me. You know what? We'll just let the city decide what doesn't get the power. But yeah, we got the local game dev collective tonight, so it's going to be a shorter run of Industries of Titan. But I'm looking forward to making some progress on this one. We're going to be doing some expansion in a little bit, but I have a couple of tasks to complete first. Okay, so what I'm going to do as far as the power situation is concerned, we can safely turn off one of these generators. So now we're back sort of into equilibrium. We'll probably lose a bunch of the power. Actually, now that I think of it, these conversion capsules are probably going to sink me power-wise. But we don't need them to be on the whole time, so So we can afford to drain the fuel for a little bit. We're just going to jump between the fuel and the energy for the next little while. But for those of you who don't know him, I don't know how many people are in the channel right now, but I'll get Night Valian's shout out of there. I actually didn't see you do the last mission of Mechanicus, I'm sorry to say. But Night Valian is a soft-voiced Brazilian streamer. He tends to stream later than me, so he's usually a safe host for the evening. Although usually, in this case, I'm going to be hosting Dirty Rectangles. That nefarious Ottawa crew of independent game developers. But Night Valian does a lot of indie games, a lot of games that are on Game Pass. I think he's currently doing Final Fantasy VI. And just an overall nice guy who doesn't necessarily have the best opinions on games, but I forgive him for that anyway. No, Night Valian, I enjoy... Night Valian and I actually have very different opinions on certain types of media and certain choices in game design. And having recognized these differences, I definitely bring them up a lot in his channel, which I realize in some contexts can actually be very annoying, but he either is desperate enough to grow his channel or is tolerant enough of my worst excesses that it has not yet gotten me banned. Anyways, definitely somebody who I like shouting out and recommending, and as I'm always fond of saying, I've noticed quite a number of you have been hanging out with him, and that's something I really appreciate because I know most of the time with a streamer, really the best that they can ask for is a chance to entertain you. And, you know, I never like taking... I never like taking an audience for granted, and I particularly like when somebody finds a new game through the stuff that I play, or there's a few different kind of ways that people find me in that. But I also particularly like just like I like trying to show off some games that I think are fun to play. I also kind of hope that people are able to find some broadcasters who will give them a pleasant diversion over the time. So I hope you find that with Night Valian. All right. So again, we are going to be working on the isotope node. It's a little bit of a long game, and actually, one of the things that we are going to be want to get fairly quickly is a smokestack. But given the fact that I have an opportunity to put the smokestack even further away from the residential areas, I kind of want to take that. So first thing we're going to do is claim the ruins. So we're claiming this particular ruin, so we can put a command center down here, and then we'll expand out the command center to sort of get the maximum coverage. Oh, I wasn't expecting to have idle workers. What's going on there? Yeah, there shouldn't be any idle workers if we've got... Is that a dedicated worker on cleaning waste who's idle? Oh, because the waste's full. Never. All right. Well, sometimes storing more trash is the answer to your problems. Okay, we're full up on the workers, so this is a little bit of an exploit. Oh yeah, actually one thing I wanted to talk about a little bit was... oh, that's interesting. So we're already setting up for conversion, and yet someone's currently undergoing the process? Doesn't quite make sense to me, to be honest, but... You know what, for now, everything's running the way I want it to, and this thing's not going to be producing new workers anyway. So we'll turn these off. But yeah, so what I wanted to talk about was how I'm going to sort of get shifted out of my maybe less than helpful patterns in Industries of Titan. Oh yeah, we can also afford to turn off. Can I get 2? I guess the fuel recovery is a little more important to me right now, but I feel a little bad doing this too. But yeah, so I'm thinking probably one thing that's going to happen for me to shift me out of my usual patterns in this game is the introduction of the different entertainment districts and the needs that the different citizens have. I have a feeling that that's probably going to be one of the things that makes me focus a bit more on a different set of priorities. So I'm looking forward to those, although certainly I'm not going to, I'm not going to like write in all capital letters on the different forums for that to be implemented, because the other thing is that all of that's just going to make the game more difficult for me. But sometimes it's fun to have a little bit of a challenge, and particularly a challenge that isn't my own ignorance sometimes. Okay, we've got more than enough fuel, so we'll turn one of these things on. And actually, so this is a perfect example. Right now we have leisure, right? So if I was a bit worried about my overall power needs, well, we're already at maximum citizens. I'm paying a lot in terms of salaries, so I'm going to want to upgrade this fairly soon. But if I wanted to get a kind of a kick in the pants for my energy needs, congratulations, I'm just earning another 33. And then, of course, one of the things that I could do here would be if I wanted to boost my fuel, because I've already got an energy savings, I can turn off a whole floor of that power if I was so inclined. Again, this particular approach is allowing me to skimp a bit on the construction of energy plants, which is going to it's basically just going to give me a little more time to get my my ducks in a row as far as citizens and workers and such. So we do need to get the command center down. Now that's going to be a big energy hog, but I think the time has come. So we'll put the command center down, at least just for a start. And then we also want to start clearing out that highway. So even though this isn't my highest priority in terms of kind of collecting the resources inside there, this is something that's going to block my ability to expand. We'll also have to do this with these ruins and such, but no point in rushing the matter. Now we're going to have to find a way of defending this as well. I suspect what I'll probably do is have another turret set up sort of to monitor this whole area off to the side here, but that's definitely further down the road. I may in fact want to build a shipyard in the interim, just to be sure that I'm able to protect my existing resources. So for instance, I'd need to pay for it, of course, but clear out the ruins here. It's nice beside my energy pylon, so we're it's not really in the way of anything. Actually, speaking of, now would not be a bad time for me to get this energy pylon upgraded. Attilia, really good to catch you stream. Hey, how you doing? Thank you very much for the kind compliment. Yeah, so I am streaming early. So if this time is good for you, I should let you know I am trying as much as I can to stream at basically 6 to 8 on Wednesdays for the basically there's a local game dev collective which is it used to meet in person, but obviously that's not possible under the current circumstances. So it's got a virtual meeting which happens at 8 o'clock. So but I really like Industries of Titan, which that's the game I'm playing. I'll talk about it in a little bit. And I'm taking where I can. I'm trying to, instead of just outright canceling the stream like I used to, because I had to physically go to a location downtown. What I'm trying to do now is take the opportunity to to head out and not head out, but take the opportunity to get a little bit of a stream in, even if it means that it's an hour shorter. But what is this game? This is Industries of Titan. This is an early access game by Brace Yourself Games. They are the people responsible for Crypt of the Necrodancer, Cadence of Hyrule, and another early access game which I'm very much enjoying called Phantom Brigade. And this is sort of a sim, a city builder, I guess all city builders are sims, a little bit of a strategy game. And essentially you get to play the villain in a cyberpunk story. You are sort of the head of a venture on Saturn's moon Titan. You've been given sort of this initial financing from an entity known as the Council to build a city corporation on Titan's surface. My belief is that ostensibly the purpose of these I guess ostensibly the purpose is to make money, but I think the Council's real motivations are to get the red artifacts that have been left by sort of an unknown prior civilization on Titan. But in any case, you've got sort of this macro level here, which is your overall city, and you're managing things like power and some different resource extractions. We're currently on our way to building sort of a highway to collect some isotopes. But there's also a micro level where you are going to be managing factories and trying to come up with as efficient of a layout as you can for these sorts of things. So there's certainly it feels like there's a good appetite for these games. Certainly if you've Ryan Clark, the founder of Brace Yourself, has done a couple of YouTube videos on sort of games with hooks and coming up with ideas for commercially viable games, and you can really sort of see how this game taps into a trend that seems to have been with us for a really long time in gaming. It seems that people's appetite for these kind of complex simulations is endless. But with that in mind, I certainly do not want to suggest that Brace Yourself is just merely sort of hopping on a trend thoughtlessly. There's a lot that's sort of been added inside of this game. I definitely enjoy sort of thinking at both the micro and the macro level in this game, and some of the the themes and the writing behind it. But again, I think it's got a couple of interesting strategy elements which I really haven't seen in these sorts of games. Like even a game like Frostpunk, which I think sort of falls in this genre, doesn't have, some sort of, send out a defense squad to protect the city or that element. So yeah, anyways, that's probably not a good elevator pitch for Industries of Titan, but that's kind of the basics of it. So I'm going to put, actually, to give you an example of how we manage things. So this is my energy grid. This is tapping into everything that I've got sort of set up in the headquarters and that. I should actually turn my factory, my work from home factory back on just to have a realistic picture of my energy needs. I'm actually short already. So that invites the question, maybe I do want to get the turbine up and running at the crack. If I were to build a command center, yeah, it would give me the coverage I need. Okay, this wasn't originally the plan, but I don't hate this, so... So not only am I going to need to build another fuel turbine... Actually, I can probably get away with just doubling up one of the fuel turbines over here. But I'm going to need to probably build some extra energy alongside it. We're also very short on cash. Okay, so the estimate for earnings... Oh, actually, sorry, I've been misreading this. So the earnings that I should be expecting here... So I will be earning... The revenue that I'll be bringing in is 1,746 from the citizens, but that's not including the expense of 24 employees at 1158. So I'm actually going to be, I'm not even going to be netting 738. I'm going to be netting 738 minus 150. So clearly we need to get more people in the city. Now, of course, that's also going to require more power. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to upgrade this factory so we can add another floor of workers. I'm also going to take a second here and get that command center down. So this specifically is so I can get a proper fuel turbine down. I also want to think a little bit about the overall layout. So let's say, okay, so turbine here. I guess the mine would go here, unless I upgrade this. Yeah, the factory in that's going to be in a bit of a weird place, but I think we can still make this all work. Clearly the fuel turbine's the priority, though, so I'm not too worried about it. Alright, so I didn't do myself any favors by hitting this factory. So this is an example of what they added in the new update. So right now, notice how my projected end-of-day balance is a negative amount. It's because my employees are always going to want to be paid no matter what. So in this particular case here, because none of my workers have homes, and actually I've also put the work slot, like the jobs are in the same building as the living spaces, the habitat pods. I've also taken my my work offline. So it's already sort of in progress, so there's really no point in me canceling it right now. But what we're going to see is there's a few, like 3/4 of an hour of the workday has already passed. So what we're going to notice is that our income's going to be updated. So now it's 1566, and our projected end-of-day balance is 558. So we lost about 200 credits on timing that upgrade incorrectly. But that's fine. I'm not going to throw a tantrum over that. That's not a big deal. All right, so we've got waste in the way, and I've run out of space. Oh, no, I've not quite run out of space, but we're getting close. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. Okay, we've got more Tier 3 than we know what to deal with, so I'm going to turn off my Tier 2 processing for the next little while. That'll free up some workers to do some other things, although apparently I've got 16 idle. I'm assuming that's because I've got waste all over the place and nowhere to put it. I mean, if I need to, I can stick some more waste in the side here, but I think my limit's going to be on this side of things, and then I need to come up with a proper way of handling it. One of my options would be to ask the council for some credits, but it's 10 influence per credit, so I'm a little reluctant to mess around with that. Okay, so hopefully that'll let the... So again, a couple of our bottlenecks are just coming from the placement of a lot of things. I've laid a lot of infrastructure, but now is the time for me to actually realize all of it. So this command center's got to go up first so I can come up with a replacement turbine. Once that replacement turbine's down, we can dismantle this one. We might even set up an energy plant. Once we have that in place, I can consider upgrading the factory so we can get some extra cash. Once we have that, then we can get a road network down and so on and so forth. Tilla says, the game sounds fun so far. Big fan of Sims. Played the old school Zeus and Poseidon games. I've never heard of those, but I'll have to check them out. Just recently got into Frostpunk. I bounced off Frostpunk when I first played it, but I really, really like that game now. I feel like I should do that on stream, actually. But yeah, Frostpunk's a really impressive game. But yeah, it's definitely... I think Industries of Titan is in it. It's definitely its own game, but I definitely feel like it is a very good. I feel like it's a very good entry in a kind of a style of game that we've definitely been very lucky to have some excellent examples, excellent models of. What happens with the waste? Do you just dump it on the planet or shoot it off in space? You have to deal with it. So I believe in future there's going to be an option to dump it in the lakes. But right now you've got two options with waste. One, you can store it, which is what I'm currently doing here. Actually, we're full up on waste now, so that's going to cause me some problems. You can also just let it lie down on the floor. That's always an option. And then to dispose of waste, to make this number actually go down, you can build a smokestack, so you can burn it up. Now, my intention is to build a smokestack, but right now I'm sort of taking advantage of a little bit of... I'm taking advantage of the fact that I'm not being stopped. Like, waste isn't stopping my construction right now. It will very shortly. But for the time being, I'm kind of taking advantage of that fact, and I'm delaying the construction of a smokestack. What I want to try and do is get this command center online, and I want to put the smokestack as far away from my factory where all of my living space is going to be. Well, all my living space currently is, because your employees can get, your citizens can get sick and die. And that's just going to be another cost to me in terms of replacing them. So I have a little bit of surplus power, it looks like. So I'm going to take my tier 2 minerals and we'll set up our... usual deal. So one thing I could try and do right now is just not pay my workers and try and buy a new item. I guess the only thing I'd really pick up here would be the shipyard. You know what? Why not? So with that in mind, we will spike the ruins. We'll claim the artifacts because we're pretty good for the rest of our needs. At some point I would like to clear out the last of the isotopes patch, but we still have 11 more to work with. And then we can also get 4 more out of this. Sorry, 8 more. 9. Okay, so I got a total of 9 isotope. Nope, my apologies. 12 isotopes in the surrounding area. Oh, that's right. I forgot that I need to power the command center. Well, that's fine because we're going to be ready for we're going to be ready to put down the turbine in a minute. So right now the only thing that's giving me fuel is, well, sorry, there's 2 things giving me fuel. There's a turbine in headquarters, which really isn't going to generate all that much. The reason for this is that Zethane comes out of the crevices and cracks. And you'll notice that this is kind of in the middle of nowhere. So if you take a look at the map for Zethane, you know, we've done a good job of sucking a lot of that out of the atmosphere here already. So while this would be an ideal place for a fuel turbine, my second best is kind of off to the side here, and we do have a command center down. So I'm going to be clearing this out so I can stick a fuel turbine down there, and I want to try and get that as close to the good stuff as I can. Actually, I guess I can put down the first one here. So I'll switch that to my tier 3s, and we need 2. Alright, so... Oh, sorry, that's a crowd. Oh, you're right. So, fuel turbine number 1 down here. We'll claim that and get the isotopes. So it looks like we actually have a few more isotopes kicking around. That's good. We can... explore these ruins. So one of the other things that I'm doing here, these are the ruins from the previous inhabitants of Saturn's moon, Titan. So in this case here, you can search the ruins, and there's actually a few outcomes now. Originally, you would use them to get the resources that you need. So isotopes are a construction material. Generally, they are associated with upgrading, although some buildings do require a base level of isotopes. So if you want to build one of these factories or you want to build one of these energy pylons, you will need isotopes to construct that. And then if you want to produce, if you want to upgrade things, you will need quite a few isotopes. Then there's minerals, which are generally associated with the construction of new things. and that can include ships as well as buildings. Generally, minerals are more plentiful than isotopes. So that would be one thing that you would use ruins for. The last thing that you can use ruins for, or in terms of extraction, are the red artifacts. So far, it used to be that ruins were the only way you could get red artifacts. Now there are patches which you can mine, which have artifacts as well. And basically, the other thing that, sorry, I keep saying basically, but there's actually another detail. A couple of updates ago, they've also added what are called inert ruins. So in these cases, you can spend red artifacts to reactivate them. So this is sort of old technology that's, that you're able to turn into something that you can kind of serve your purposes. One of the interesting things that this does is it will sort of disrupt the shape of the map a little bit. So you know how if you look at maps of certain cities, particularly old cities, like the road networks and things like that don't make any sense at all. It's just this absolute tangle. And then some newer cities, you'll look at them and it will be very ordered. It'll look like a big grid. And in this particular case here, I think kind of the inert ruins are intended to do what they're sort of intended to make the world a little bit like how to go from sort of the new city to the old city look. It's intended to sort of add a little more disruption inside of the layout. Now, I wasn't considering what would happen when. So I forgot about the waste here. So I am going to need to find another place to store waste. Fortunately, I have some options. So I wasn't really wanting to use these for waste storage, but I have, I've got my present needs. So right now we're going to kind of be all hands on deck in terms of storage. That's 3 waste receptacles, and I'll be able to stick a few more in there. Was going to hurt my power grid, but I don't need to hook them up to power or anything like that. I'm just getting the layout down. All right, so my hope here is that they'll clear out the waste, and then I'll be able to put the other fuel turbine down. Then I can combine them. I'm also getting a bit short on my minerals again, so I'm probably gonna have to turn on the mineral upgrade.
Device complete.
Oh, by the way, this is totally unrelated to gaming, but not everything's gaming. There is a U.S., I'd say probably a political commentator is the best name that I could give them. But Josh Barro has sort of left his job. I think he used to write for Insider, and he was the host of KCRW's Left, Right, and Center, which I thought was a very good, actually probably still is. But definitely I really enjoyed that podcast. Well, I knew it as a podcast, but I believe it is also a proper broadcast. Anyways, he is left to go out on his own, and he has just opened his Substack. So I guess the thing is it's a little bit like hosting the Dirty Rectangles thing. People going out on their own is, one, very frightening and certain for them, but also that stuff tends to rise and fall based on it finding its audience. So for those of you who, I don't know, like thinking about things outside of the world, I actually quite like Josh Barro's approach. So joshbarrow.com is probably the best spot, and then the podcast is called Very Serious. I believe the Substack is going to be free for the first 4 weeks, and then it will be occasional free articles. So I'm somewhat inclined towards subscribing, but I haven't hit that subscribe button yet. But yeah, I mention it just because that something I recently noticed or recently saw come online. But number two, I'd actually like to see a little bit more of that style of sort of journalism or commentary done. I think one thing that's kind of nice about Barrow's approach. So first of all, I actually kind of know of him because I know he's the son of Robert Barrow, who's a macroeconomist who's certainly rather well known if you know econ things. But what I've tended to notice is that, and I think this is how he describes his newsletter, there is a lot of advocacy on certain publications for positions that, for lack of a better term, are not necessarily in the mainstream. So, if you'll read the New Republic or if you'll read National Review, you'll certainly hear some very strong opinions. And without wanting to go too much into American politics, particularly because I'm Canadian, I knew a lot of people who were very big Bernie Sanders fans, and they were utterly convinced that the primary was a lock for him. And obviously they were incredibly disappointed when it didn't turn out. Now, I don't think anybody can necessarily predict these things with the level of certainty at which they, claim to predict these things. But what was very clear is that there is a middle-of-the-road perspective that is not always necessarily present if you read a lot of op-eds. And one of the things I really appreciate about Barrow's work is, one, I tend to think that he structures his articles as like an argument, right? It may not necessarily be something that you agree with, but you tend to walk away from, at least whenever I read his articles, I would generally feel I was better informed about things. But number two, I do actually think that there's some value in some kind of writing or some kind of newsletter or publication that is not necessarily just taking a stance that is in one of these more well, I should just say one of these extremes. I'm not trying to suggest that if you liked Sanders that you're an extremist. Obviously, that's a that's a different label. But just simply, I think there's some value in having, a little bit of a litmus test. Like somebody who basically would have I guess for lack of a better term, it's nice to have sort of a reflection where you don't just know the author's point of view, but there's some reflection in terms of how that relates to the overall view. So anyways, I think there's some value in things like that. That is a newsletter that I think is serving that purpose, in addition to just some fun stuff. Barrow's, I think, quite a good writer. I think he's a very good commentator as well. Like, he's an excellent host for Left, Right, and Center. But in particular, it's definitely the sort of writing I'd like to see a little bit more of. In fact, you might notice that it's the type of writing that once in a while when I do a gaming article, I try to do, to maybe move past what I think is a tendency for very strident opinions to emerge. Like, gaming certainly has no shortage of very strident opinions without necessarily the facts to back it up. So that EA article I wrote was originally intended to be which of the arguments against EA are supported by data. And the surprise about it was that absolutely none of them were supported by data. And in fact, the company looked relatively very good. And I'm actually reasonably pleased that a few years later, the relative opinion about the various companies seems to have kind of matched the conclusions of that article. I'm not making a causal argument because obviously only a very small number of people read that, but certainly I was feeling very pleased with myself when kind of history seemed to shape, opinions sort of over time started to reflect what was identified as inside of those different companies. But anyways, I mostly just wanted to talk about something I was interested in and something I would like to see supported a little bit more, because I have a bit of a lull in the the gameplay right now. We're upgrading our fuel or sorry, we're not upgrading, but we're doubling up the fuel turbine. That's going to give us access to a lot of extra fuel. We can actually safely dismantle this one. So the big gain that I got here is that I'm still only going to have one employee that's currently occupying this fuel turbine, but not only is it in a richer source of zethane, there's now 2 of them operating. Now, because they're doubled up, they're not necessarily... they're not easy to defend. This is actually one of the reasons why I want to get this... why I want to get the shipyard down. But for the time being, this fuel turbine is going to give me access to a lot more fuel, which in turn is going to give me access to a lot more energy generation. Well, at least this should give me access to more fuel as soon as it turns on. I think they're getting ready to walk in. Yeah. So yeah, as you can see, we're producing a considerable amount of zethane. Now again, zethane is not too useful on its own. You kind of need power to back it up, and we've used up all of our space for power. So either I need more space for waste, or I need more space for power. Now, one thing I'm going to do to sort of just kick the can down the road a little bit, I do want to at least get the basics down for a shipyard. So, if you will excuse me, sorry, I spent a lot of time talking about not Titan stuff, but I actually need to step off for a quick second. I think I will run ads on that just because it's going to be a little bit longer than the last time, but I would rather you not have to see the ads. So I will, I actually think if the game, no, I can pause the game and it will, it'll be fine. But I need to just step away from the keys for a second. This was something that was set up. Sorry, I just got to send something off to someone. But yeah, sorry, I'm going to be back in probably no more than 5 minutes. And I will try and get the music back as well. But I am going to run ads very briefly. If you don't have an ad blocker yet, I highly recommend getting one. See you in a little bit. Okay, I apologize for that. That should be the only interruption in the broadcast for today. So, I want to make sure I get the shipyard down, so that's going to need 4 CUs. We should be fine in terms of... Why don't you want to get built? Probably because I don't have the ability to claim that plot. But yeah, anyways, so in this case, we've got the same number of workers, but generating more fuel for us, which is good. Right now, that's kind of being wasted. But what I'm going to do first, now that we can put down the shipyard, this is so that I can defend my existing holdings. We should have a decent stack of... No, you know what? I'm going to try and get the power infrastructure down first. So the question is, where do I want to put my generators? We still have road access. Actually, this is a fine spot for them because we're not going to be able to get the activated battery. The other alternative would be to clear out these ruins and stick them beside the shipyard, but I don't think that's going to work as well. So we will clear out these ruins when we're up to 10 influence. But I can start by putting down the energy plant here. So again, the energy plant is going to require a... the energy plant's going to require a worker. There's really no avoiding that, but we are going to double it up just so that it is only one worker. It's also important to remember this is 275 construction units. We need 200 to be able to build the energy plant, so I'm also going to need to get a higher... I'm going to need to build up my tier 3s a little bit more. So I'm going to prepare... So what I want to do with my tier 2s for the moment... I want to get the infrastructure down for the rest of this work from home setup. We need to make a little more cash, and we're going to have the power to do that shortly. Oops. So even if these things don't get power, I want to make sure that I have used my resources well. I hope that's right. It's a big battery drain. What's going on there? Ah. So, not ready to work with that shipyard yet. Okay, generally looking okay. So now I'll put the habitat pods in, and then we'll power it all up in a little bit. Thanks, Night Valian. So I can't get too reckless with this. Actually, what I could do to save a little bit of power, we can turn off the tier 1 isotopes refining. The reason we can do that is because we currently don't have any tier 1 isotopes, and we're going to be using the influence to get other resources. So this is going to give me a bit of a false, kind of a false view of just how much power I actually have, because I've got a couple of major pieces of machinery down as well as the shipyard. But again, the priority for me right now is to get a little bit more money. Like, just generally try and scale everything up. So I'm going to put down 2 more habitat pods and then wire all this up. I need to make sure that I put down the... Well, I know the game's going to allow me to, reach further. But I do want to make sure I put down the pylons before the others. And we can turn on the energy plant. That's going to help me out with my... That's going to help me out with my power anyway. But ideally, we're going to double that up before too long. The fact that we've got 12 idle employees and we're not working on the processing is a little weird to me. So let's say dedicated worker for each of these jobs for now. No point in doing clean waste because we're still waiting on our smokestack. I am definitely wondering whether or not it was the right call to wait so long on the smokestack, but because if anything, I could have just built a smokestack and then moved it after the fact, but we're kind of committed to that choice now, so. I'm going to turn on 2 parts of this machine. I don't want to turn on the last one because I do still have need for these tier 2 minerals. But I can at least start getting a realistic idea of what my power needs are for the next little while. So I'm going to need 1, 2, 3... I guess we technically already entombed this one. Alright, so I'm going to need 1, 2, 3, 4... 5, 6, 7, 8 tier 2 minerals. So now that I've dedicated workers to moving minerals, I wonder what the delay is, because really it should just be a quick, like, pick one of these things up and stick it inside the storage container. I'm actually a little curious what the holdup is. It's not worth fussing too much about yet, but... And while I'm at it, I can easily afford a defense turret upgrade, so we're gonna get that out of the way. One thing I kind of want to do, if I can, is get the upgrades I know I'm going to need out of the way as early as possible. One big threat that I have to my Enterprise right now is we've got this coverage for the defense turret, which covers most of my essentials. But what I have done is I've moved my main source of fuel for the power in a hard-to-defend position. So if I bury the city, this fuel turbine's still going to be affected. That's why I built this shipyard. But I can't actually build any ships yet because I've been using my tier 2 minerals to build this higher level factory. It's still the right call to build this higher level factory because that's going to give me access to the money that will allow me to, you know, to get weird and wonderful buildings and clear out the, you know, clear out my waste problems. But, you know, these, you kind of have to prioritize, and I've been all over the place on each of these. So I do want a science lab, not my first priority right now. My first priority is actually going to be a transport hub. Oh, I thought we were over 1,000. Okay. So we're probably going to miss payday. Yeah, we're going to miss payday by just a little bit. But I want to get that transport hub down just so that I can start getting a bit of a road network in place. This is going to take a little bit of thinking in terms of where I want to put it. I suppose I could start digging up this minerals patch. So... it's a bit close to the factory, though. Actually, the one problem with all of this is that it doesn't... Actually, one thing I may wind up... Well... yeah, that's not going to happen anytime soon. I was just thinking, like, one thing I might want to do is remove the factory and put the transport hub, like, right in the middle. That probably doesn't make as much sense as it did when I was first thinking about it. So, let's say the depot is going to go here or near here. Got an obsidian ruins beside us that I might want to clear out, because I still need to put a like an energy pylon down. So this isn't quite close enough unless I want to upgrade it. but upgrading isn't the worst thing that could happen to me here. How are we for tier 1 minerals? We're fine still. I don't know. I'll worry about the road infrastructure later because I need to get back to building tier 3 minerals before that becomes a priority. So that's going to be it for the power needs. So one more habitat pod and we're ready to go with our 3rd floor. I might consider upgrading this building one more time, but I definitely want to make sure I do that after the work shift. And then going back to the factory, we are ready to turn on the tier 2 to tier 3 module. Okay, so I will confess there's actually quite a bit more in terms of the demand on the... So there's more being asked of the grid than I kind of thought there was going to be. So I'm sort of back to the old problem of, all right, we don't quite have enough power for our new command center. And this is where the smokestack was going to get built. So one option here is to build a second energy plant and combine them. This is what I would normally do. The catch is that to build an energy plant, we need 200 mineral construction units. And right now we've got 75 from the tier 3s. So that's going to solve itself over time. We've already got sort of... Oh, sorry. Turn that on. So we've kind of got the largest number of workers already working on improving this as we can get. I can actually also send some more on the isotope side of things. Now there's an upper bound on the number of tier 3 minerals we're going to get as a result of this. And you can actually already see where the problem's going to come in. This is slowly going to fill up with garbage. So one thing I can try and do is roll back on the storage containers a little bit. So it's got 22 it's got 70 available. This has got 51 available. This means that this is okay. So maximum capacity 108. Okay, so I'm going to dismantle this storage container because there's less. Is it not going to let me? Okay, so some of the stored resources are in use. So I'm going to dismantle this one. I'm going to replace it with waste receptacles for now. I'm hoping I haven't miscalculated. There's going to be a little bit of a dance because not everything in here, like there's definitely a bunch of different resources that I want to access, but whether or not I pick them up in time is the other question. A lot of tier 1, a lot of tier 3, but it's the tier 2 minerals that are going to decide whether or not I can put this stuff down. And of course, the danger is that this gets filled up faster than we want it to. If that happens, then we're stuck, and we're gonna have to put down the another storage container somewhere to clear the block. But again, every time I see one of these tier 2s just hanging out there, it annoys me. In fact, as much as I wanted some more tier 3, I'm going to turn off the input to tier 2 again. It's just because I really need to get these waste receptacles down as quickly as I can manage. This one definitely filled up a lot faster than I was wanting. Good news is we've got some space available. Not a lot, but some. I guess we don't need to babysit this the whole time. So we're sitting on a lot of fuel right now. I'm going to want to clear out this minerals patch. Each time I see this number go up, I'm just going to throw down another waste receptacle. What I'm trying to do here is just sweep as much as I can off of these floors, so that essentially once this place gets full of garbage, we are we're not going to be able to do any more production. So while I can, I want to try and you know, produce what I need. Although, of course, if all of the production's going into waste receptacles, that's really not helping us. So I didn't realize I disabled waste on this. This is actually going to free us up for a bit longer than I thought. So just 15 more in terms of tier 2s, and then we can turn this back on. And in 7 influence, we're going to be able to take out that obsidian ruin. That's going to give us a few more resources, but it's also going to clear things out for the energy pylon, which is what I need. So under my normal model, this gets used for a second tier 1 to tier 2 converter, or a level 1 processor. The original intention was that I'd have more of kind of a skeleton crew running than I actually do. Again, it's just the difference in terms of how the playthrough wound up going. I'm not necessarily upset with the way that things have turned out, but it does mean that I have a little bit more of a shortage of tier 2 minerals than what I would normally want to see. Good news is we just need one more tier 2 mineral, then we've got as much waste storage as we're ever going to get, and we're hopefully going to turn that extra capacity into tier 3 minerals, with which we will build defensive structures and energy. So we're clearing this out so that we can stick down a transport hub. Now that transport hub is a very, very low priority right now. I want to get power to the command center first. So the reason I'm waiting for the 40 influence here is so that I can claim these obsidian ruins, and first of all, I get 16 tier 2 minerals and 1 tier 2 isotope, so that's kind of nice. I'm going to need to find space for the waste as well, so it is actually kind of important to me that we claim this reasonably quickly. I'm actually going to hold off on getting more citizens in for that very reason. But assuming that we don't hit the limit, yeah, we've got 60 available. This is going to power our command center, which will give us the location for the waste receptacle, or the my apologies, the smokestack. In fact, one thing I'm going to do, this is going to be murder on my power grid. And I probably, no, I think it's better we just rip the band-aid off. So this is going to kill our fuel for a little bit. I can afford the upgrade, so I'm just going to do them. Mind you, this should be the higher priority. That's only 2 tier 3s. How long can it take? Very long, probably, but we'll we'll let the fuel storage move up. I suppose it's better than having everything power off when I really need them. But yeah, we're eagerly. Oh, actually, this is great news. You can get the energy plant down right away. But yeah, I kind of wanted to get this out of the way because we're gonna have some really big energy needs coming up pretty soon. So knocking down a fuel turbine. Actually, while I'm in upgrade mode, I'm gonna need to wait this out a little bit. Yeah, I think I gotta wait for that fuel. I gotta wait for that fuel number to go up a little bit higher. But we're drowning in isotopes right now, so oh, I forgot to claim. How are we for waste storage? It's gonna be a little dicey, but I think we can make it. Actually, you know what? The battery drain's not all that bad, so I am gonna, once this command center gets back online, I'm actually gonna upgrade the fuel turbine right away. Is that smart? I don't. Yeah, let's give it a shot. I'm a little worried about that choice just because it's going to pull out all that surplus that we have, but I'm going to have to do the upgrade eventually, so it's probably better for me to just get it out of the way now. We will upgrade this one again. I don't want to go too crazy because we don't have unlimited. It's 1 in the morning. Let's actually get that fact. I don't think I can afford to upgrade every single one of these, so I'll avoid bringing this up to the new factory level, although I really want to. We've got 34 left on our storage. So the reason why I wanted to get this up to tier 3 right away is that's going to give me the furthest possible distance from what will ultimately become sort of our habitat, our living space. One thing I can do to make life a little easier for myself here is connect these energy plants right away. So this is already getting the upgrade. That's fine. Once this upgrade's done, this is a tough call. I think I might try to take this up to tier 3, but I don't know if I can justify making the command center, this particular command center, a level 3. And we can get some exploration done. Okay, that's good news there. I'm gonna put down the energy pylon. Hopefully while we still have storage. 22. So yeah, we're not going to have a whole lot left after we clear out the waste, but we should be able to do it. If we don't get power to this, we're in a bit of trouble. Okay, this will take 90. This has already been upgraded. So yeah, this fuel turbine I'm going to turn back on. We do need to get the battery back up and running. So the reason why I want to take this up to tier 3 is I'm also going to start upgrading this battery pretty soon. I do need to make sure I have enough left to upgrade this energy pylon. But what I want to do ideally is sort of have all the infrastructure in place for a really aggressive expansion plan. So we're going to need to make sure we have enough power for these. We need to make sure, actually it can make life a little easier by turning off the shipyard. There's a bunch of stuff that I'm not using right now, which doesn't really need the energy. Actually, you know what? I may regret this, but doing these upgrades now makes sure that I never have to turn off important infrastructure to get the upgrade done. 9 left, and we've cleared out the waste, so we're in good shape. Although we are out of fuel. So I'm going to turn off. Basically, this is just trying to make the batteries last a little longer. So there's a very sneaky chance that we're going to be able to get this up to a tier 3 power plant before the upgrade to the command center is done. So we got 12 seconds left on that. We don't okay, we have one isotope inside of it. I think I'm going to try it. I think I'll just be shy of the deadline. I also think it's really weird that this number hasn't moved. But again, the idea here is just get the infrastructure down. I never have to touch it again, and then we will be able to focus on the construction of ships to defend ourselves. So I'll actually hit this as a priority. This is an upgrade that will happen, but in its own time. I'm sure this number is moving down, but it's a little funny not to see. So one argument for turning this back on would be to get another ship full of migrants arriving. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to free up the AI to make decisions again. We're going to run out of space for waste pretty soon, so I'm probably going to have a lot of idle people in just a little bit. But okay, yeah, so this thing's finishing its upgrade. It's going to take 20 seconds. This is going to be 24, so behind by 4 seconds, but that's definitely not something to write an angry email to brace yourself about. Okay, yeah, the energy stored is going down. It's just at a scale that I can't quite notice. But basically all this is going to turn online, so we're going to have a dump truck of energy to play around with. We're going to have... Actually, let's turn the factory back on. We'll turn the shipyard back on. I can bring in another ship. So obviously this is draining the batteries, but in 0 seconds, we'll see what a level 3... So currently we're at minus 55 energy, and we're generating surplus of 110 fuel. Please take the girders down. You love to see it, right? Okay, so we're at 180... power. Oh, this is going to come online too. All right, everything just came online at the time I needed it to. Now, my preference would be to upgrade this factory immediately, add the 3rd story, and then just go nuts with it. Problem is, I would be doing that in the middle of the workday, and we're finally actually turning a decent profit. So even though we were starting at basically 0, I think we had like 245, we're going to end the day with a balance of over 2,000. That means that's 2 buildings that we can buy right away. More importantly, we are on our way for sort of accomplishing the goal we had for this particular session, which was to get our satellite office built. Now, the Rebel threat meter is slowly growing, and I don't have any defensive ships built yet, so I'm going to want to focus on that too. But right now, we've got a much better infrastructure in place than we had before. We're generating a lot of energy, we're generating quite a bit of money, and we've got sort of the infrastructure in place to be able to connect these 2 mines very quickly. Well, not very quickly. Like, that's going to be what a lot of the tier 3 minerals are about, but that's one of the reasons why I'm doing a lot of upgrades and such here. So one of the costs that I'm going to have to deal with is generating ships. So right now, if I wanted to build a skua, I have the minerals for it, but I am going to need money. The alternative would be to go for like really big ships right away. I'm going to resist the urge to go for like nightmare ships right off the bat. And the reason for this is I just don't think I have the production infrastructure to be able to pull these off. On the other hand, though, having a couple of solid defenders certainly that's not a tall order. I am debating the skua does look pretty tempting. Nice design by Karoba Solutions, especially to be able to thread easily between Titan's unburrowed city skyline. Bahar Karoba is the rebel leader. So there's a story there. Actually, again, this is a feature I love that they did. The codex is now accessible inside of the menu. So, not the rebel ships. Bahar Karoba. Brought up by the founders of the small but successful Karoba Solutions. There it is. Bahar witnessed how Titan's corporations treated its employees. When they spoke out about it, their parents tried to have them converted. That was enough to push them towards the rebel cause. They were educated to take over the family business, and now they use that knowledge against the corporations of Titan and the council itself. So Bahar was the first rebel leader, and they get angry at you when you beat them. But Zoran is definitely an interesting... Zoran's an interesting one. Actually, one thing I didn't realize about him was all the plants in the area. So Zoran has an endless wall of passion and a guilty conscience. He'll tell you all about the evils of the council and what they did to his family, but he'll artfully avoid mentioning any ways he was complicit in the violence they enacted. He knows exactly what parts of the story to tell to convince his followers into swift and violent action. He would call himself persuasive and sympathetic. Not everyone who's crossed his path would agree. So we don't actually know why there are plants all over here. So, anyways, there's fun little connections and details that emerge if you look for them. But yeah, I think I'll go for the. I can see the skua working. I mean, it's another 30 hull strength, which, with the changes to ship combat, I don't think is a. I don't think that's nothing. But the time has come. I gotta get that. I need. There's no more room for delays. Like, I absolutely have to get the smokestack built. So let's think about the approaches. First of all, okay, isotopes. Okay, a couple of important details here. We're out of tier 1 isotopes, so we're gonna shut down this production line. Apparently we're also out of tier 2, so we're going to shut down this production line as well. Which might be a problem. So I'm going to start by upgrading this to tier 3. That's going to shut off access to this area because the command center is down, but that's fine. Now again, it's not a hair on fire kind of situation because... like, there's other ways that I can get isotopes and such, but what I want to do right now is just think about how I'm going to build my mining operation, how I'm going to get the refining down, how I'm going to build the roadways, and once all of that's considered, I'm going to put the smokestack down as far away from all of the other stuff. Actually, I guess the limit would be, like, if I put let's say I put a mine down here, that would mean that the pollution's being generated from the mine at this level. So even if I put the smokestack further down in this area, there's still the pollution being generated by the mine. So, but these inert ruins are doing exactly what they are intended to do. They are getting in my way. Okay, so one possibility we're looking at here would be take these ruins and... Actually, I wonder if I could get away with... Let's see what the... Okay, so I'm thinking that maybe I'll put the mining operation like to the right of the isotope node. Well, okay. Up, down, left, right. So lower right here. That might work a little bit better. Again, it's just a question of the road access. And then, you know, storage and refining operations along the roadway. One thing we definitely know we're going to want to do is claim these ruins. Okay. Wow, this is Ruin City. Okay. I'm probably going to... Hey, Uncle Cranky, how you doing? I didn't see what you were streaming today. Oh, actually, was it your Epoch Fail game? Yes, I'm pretty sure you were streaming last Epoch. How you doing? For those of you who don't know him, Uncle Cranky is an ARPG streamer from New Zealand. Last Epoch is normal. Well, as normal until Total War Warhammer 3 comes out, right? It's on the same service as where you get your Halo. Okay, so if I want to have a roadway... I guess I can still make the roadway work here. So if I could build a mine here, or a mine here. So if I build the mine here, the road ends at this spot. It would go out and around like so. Okay, so mine, road. It'd be cramped, but it would be workable. But it does invite the question why I wouldn't just put the mine in like this, because then I have the roadway here. And then I could put like the factory and then the storage like so. Okay, so mine, road, factory, storage. That's exactly how I'm going to build it. Why? Because you don't like Halo, or because you don't like Total War? All right, so Rebels are getting kind of cranky, so I gotta figure out... I'm actually gonna take a second here, so I'm gonna pause the game. The reason I'm pausing is just because I actually need to work this out for myself. I've never been happy with my... So good games are banned, is what you're saying. I've never quite been happy with a lot of my ship designs, but at the very least, I can put some thought into how this thing's going to work. So I think I'm going to try 2 medium lasers. So that's going to have an energy cost of 4. I have tried in the past to do... I think I'm still going to try and do a 1 life support run, so... so that's a power requirement of 3, good lord. Power requirement of 1. So you need a total of 5 there. And then traditionally I do put a med bay, so that takes me up to 6. Now, I think the problem here is that if I put a medium power generator in, that's going to get me exactly 6. Yeah. Mind you, I guess there's a couple of ways. So there's a couple of ways that I can handle this. I can turn off the med bay while it generates the power. That sounds a little too risky, though. One of the other things I want to try and do, my other designs have often suffered from not having the weak points distributed enough. So I'm going to start putting them in more remote locations. That is, however, going to cause some problems for me when it comes to just finding room for everything. But I kind of think that's by design. So game's working as intended in that sense. It'll be cramped, but sure, this will have to do. Also, gotta be a little more sensible with how I'm using my resources. Okay. I mean, one thing I could do is just stick a big power... actually, that's not as crazy as it seems. There's a lot of redundancy in this power layout, which is exactly how I want it. Okay. I think there's some possibilities here. Right, I did say I wanted to put down a medical pod. So admittedly, there's quite a bit of critical infrastructure like inside here, but the thing that's nice about this, right? So if they take out this relay, we're still covered by these relays. Like basically, any one of these relays being taken out will take down one component, not the whole thing. So the remaining steps, and I always forget these, engines, fuel, and then sort of batteries and whatnot. So I think I'm going to try something a little different here. I'm going to put 2 fuel fabricators. Ooh, that's kind of ugly. Well, where else am I going to put them, though, right? I guess I don't need to put 2 down, but if I can do... Yeah, so that entombs too much of the ship. I could do a little something like this. I'm never crazy about... That's a good design feature to put fuel beside sensitive infrastructure, right? These things are definitely going to be slow moving, but I think I've kind of already accepted that. Okay. Not as much space for batteries as I thought there was going to be, but I think I can live with that. So now I'm going to unpause, partly just so that I can get access to resources again. I am going to see if I can stick a couple more... well, sorry, I'll stick at least one more engine down and then a handful of batteries and see how this thing works. But this should be ready to go in time for the bad guys to show up. Also, I need to remember to leave enough resources to get that smokestack built. So maybe I want to hold off on the details. So I think I said, yeah, so this is one thing I didn't think through. Roadway can come through here. That's fine. Where do I put my smokestack? These ruins are probably the best bet. There's a little bit more that I can get out of the distance. Also, I'm going to need a dedicated energy pylon to hit the mine on this side, which is a little bit of a shame. I could put 2 backup engines in the middle here. I'm going to accumulate some tier 5s just so I can have a little bit more battery coverage. Kind of already committed to cramming as much stuff in one space as we can. I'm going to put one more... I'm going to put a set of batteries down, actually. Molten Lion is generating a surplus of 3 fuel. Yeah, it's really a tough call as to whether or not the large generator was what I needed here, but I'm okay living with it, so... Oh my goodness, we're really close to 8. So just a reminder, Dirty Rectangles is happening reasonably soon. But yeah, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to stick a couple more replacement batteries on the side. I mean, admittedly, this is all beside the sort of infrastructure that the Rebels are going to want to hit, so this may not be as useful as some of the other components. But the big thing here is we've got a ship that we can sort of know we can afford. It's a little bit less fragile to major systems getting taken out. This life support is still quite threatened. But other than that, you know, we can like, major systems don't go online by having one of the relays taken out. So overall, I can live with this ship design, let's say. Of course, then I'm going to find out, oh, actually, it turns out that I forgot this one major thing. Actually, this might also be a little speedier than some of my other ones because I put more engines inside of it, but... I think the other important detail is that this ship does not look like... It's not as big of an eyesore as some of the other ships that I make. So... Alright, looks like we are ready for launch. So, I'm going to turn on the Tier 2 to Tier 3 module again. And I'm also going to build that smokestack finally. Yeah, all the Tier 2 stuff is offline. That's fine. The floor is starting to look very, very messy, so I can't necessarily rely on the existence of Tier 3 minerals for that much longer. But we do now have a smokestack. It's definitely going to be a long walk for everyone to grab it, actually. I'm going to... Okay, not enough influence yet. I am going to mine these out, not necessarily because I want more Tier 1 minerals, but because it is going to free up some space for the highway. So one of the biggest things that I need right now is a lot of Tier 3 minerals to be able to get the... let's take the Molten Lion and put it over one of these crevices. So one of the plans here is to... I want to build like a huge highway system. Actually, I also want to build a mine. There's a bunch of stuff I want to build. I got to think about the order of my priorities. So, Isotope Mine's going to go down here. I'm going to have a highway in its full form is basically going to go like this. The smokestack's kind of going to go down like this. My ideal would be smokestack here, but you know, I'm working with what I've been given right now. The one tile's not going to make that big of a difference, especially because we've got a mining operation sort of on this line. But yeah, so highway goes up like this. There's going to be a refining operation, then a storage area here. This is probably where the depot is going to live. So then the highway is going to go up and around like so. And then probably out and around like this, but I'm not committed to it. One feature I kind of like about moving along the side of the shipyard is that it's going to have access to tier 3 minerals as like right as basically like all of the buildings that require resources are going to be hooked up to that road. So going here instead of around the spaceport becomes ideal. And then eventually that's going to hook into the mineral node. So that's why I spent all that. If you're wondering why I was spending all that time, like sort of fiddling around with all of these little, upgrades and such here, is that we've got so much power and fuel that we're currently generating. We're really in a situation now where it's just a matter of building the resources. Like let's get that smokestack working. We're really at a point here where it's just a matter of kind of getting the resources down to a point where we can just build one item on top of another. I also should probably pick my battles as far as resources. So I think getting the... Oh, you know what? It actually occurred to me that I really did not do myself any favors. Nope, this ruins will still be fine, so I need to claim the 20. But yeah, so one of the first things I want to do is get the mine. Actually, we'll build that right away. So I need 200 CUs for that. So I'm going to get the mine down first for the simple reason that unless I start... taking down some ruins, I don't have any way of accessing new isotopes. I'm essentially just taking down what I've already extracted, which is fine because we don't really need isotopes for anything for the next little while. It'd be nice to have an upgraded smokestack, but I'm going to move the smokestack kind of back one, so that's not going to be built for a while. But I should probably start pulling some of this stuff out of the ground. Obviously, minerals is not as big of a story. I'm going to run out of space for waste before I'm going to run out of any of the others. But once I get the isotope mine down, we can get a slow trickle of isotopes back into this factory over here. And then the real priority is just going to be getting those tier 3 minerals, because that's going to be what sort of allows me to build the highway. One thing I want to hook up reasonably quickly is a roadway from this factory to the smokestack so that we can get the waste in the smokestack as quickly as possible. But again, it's 25 a pop to build a roadway, so it's not the easiest thing for me to wait on. One other thing that's going to be nice is eventually when I can afford a what am I trying to say? Wait. Sorry, I'm just trying to think this through. Yeah, no, when I can afford the storage container, I can also build a specific, like, dedicated storage for the waste. The plan is eventually to demolish all of this, but in reality, I'm also probably going to demolish the, oh. No, we should still be able to, yeah, it's just because of the output module. But yeah, as you'll notice, like, the floor is getting really messy here, right? So we do need to be considering the possibility that we've got a future where I can't produce any more where I can't produce any more minerals. Okay, so I've got enough to get the... I thought I had enough. Yes, I do. So we're going to get that mine down. Now, I do need to remember... So one of the reasons why I said the isotope node was... the isotope mine was sort of a higher priority. Remember that this isn't going to hook up to the grid. So I also need to buzz down this ruins. Oh! Ruins is not going to help me, though, because of the waste. Okay, so I'm going to do two things. I'm going to put down a temporary pylon here, and then I'm going to put down a pylon on these ruins so that hopefully my people will put the waste inside the smokestack. As you can see, getting the roadway down is a very high priority just to try and get things moving along smoothly. Now, once the basics of the roadway get built, I'm probably not going to go all the way and build it out like to the mine here and then build the mine. What I'm probably going to do is build the mine and then eventually hook it up to the roadway. And again, this is because right now I've got 149 minerals. It's taken a long time for me to act on them. So there isn't really any argument for me to, bend over backwards to try and get another source of minerals. There's just so many minerals kind of lying on the ground waiting for me to pick them up. Including these. Like, we've got another 16, so that's, something like 34? Obviously the numbers changed since I looked at it, but yeah, we've got a lot of... we got a lot of minerals that we have access to. So my hope is that the workers are going to be kind of smart and see that there is 20 local storage in the smokestack and move it directly into the smokestack. I suspect what they're going to try and do is move it into some kind of a waste receptacle and then move it in. That's specifically why I'm building this energy pylon, because there's no like penalty for building and dismantling. I can put this energy pylon down to make sure that the mine is operational, and then once so let's see, yeah, this is still 10, so I suspect we're probably not going to see any progress on this. But here we're now getting a source of isotopes again, so I can afford to turn the modules back on. It also did occur to me that we lost a few workers with the ship construction, so I'm going to take a quick second here. It's got room for 28 workers. We'll take advantage of that. And if I can, I'll bring in some more citizens. But I have a feeling we're going to have to wait on those. But yeah, it looks like the workers aren't going to put the waste in the smokestack, which, fair enough. I mean, if you take a look at the numbers here, actually, here's one thing I can do to make life a little easier. One dedicated to cleaning up waste, one dedicated to supplying the smokestack. But yeah, I think it's fair to say if the smokestack local storage doesn't count towards your waste capacity, it probably doesn't make a lot of sense for workers to move waste from the construction site into the smokestack. It's just a little inconvenient for me because obviously... so there's two ways of looking at it, right? One is, okay, it needs to put it in a proper receptacle, fine, but this is kind of the definition of government work, where they're gonna move. There's the disposal unit here, so they're gonna move it all the way to the containers in Factory 6, back to the smokestack here. This is not. Not exactly the sort of thing that a manager concerned with productivity would would be encouraging. Alright, so we've got the largest largest workforce we can get, and then hopefully we'll be able to fill in the remaining slots because we're now below 2,000. When we were at 2,000 a day for earnings, that was like a really sweet spot, because that would mean that I could build two special buildings a day if I felt like it. Obviously, it's nice to have a little money in reserve if you're thinking the rebels might attack soon. For the simple reason that you're probably going to want to repair some buildings. Like, it's nice that we've got a defending unit, and the Molten Lion is a great name for a ship anyway. But this is not gonna win the day for us. What this is going to do is sort of draw the enemy away from very important buildings. I'm a little lucky in the sense that if we get threatened on this side of the map, I can always bury stuff. This side of the map, any one of these components going down is a major problem for our enterprise. So, for instance, if I again, there's never going to be multiplayer in this game, but if I wanted to attack this city, this is the thing I would attack. It's 54 health. If this goes down, I don't have access to fuel. I've only got, my major source of power is this energy plant, which consumes 48 fuel at any given time. This thing going down will take out the turret, which means that any threat to the invasion is basically neutralized by just taking out this 158 HP item. Admittedly, after time, it doesn't happen immediately, but it gives you an idea of kind of how fragile my position potentially is. I'm tempted to buy another building. Obviously, with so much energy, it would make a lot of sense for us to start building, at the very least, residence, office, conversion center. A science lab would be nice too, but being able to build sort of dedicated residential and office areas would be nice in terms of just really boosting up the numbers. And again, if we take a look at livability, it's not great over here, but we've sort of got we've kind of got the boundaries in terms of where the misery is going to be. But I don't know, we're able to work with what we've got so far, and we do have a couple of higher priorities, I suppose. So, okay. Smokestack seems to make sense here, so it's going to be a little, this might not be very intuitive, but what I'm doing here is I'm building this smokestack and I'm clearing these ruins so that I can actually dismantle this smokestack. I'm basically just moving it down one unit all told, but it's not a very high priority right now. It's just I'm able to do it, so I can. I'm able to do it now, so I am. But the problem is if I double it up right away, then again it becomes vulnerable to the rebels, and it would be nice to have a second ship in the sky before I commit to too much here. The thing is, though, I am actually going to want to have proper defensive turrets set up. This is going to be a serious operation, and I do want to make sure that it's defended. So maybe a defensive turret here, or there's not a whole lot of space once these spots are taken up. Might be able to stick one here, maybe, but yeah, I have options, and it'll kind of depend in terms of where all the infrastructure goes. I want to just take a quick look at the dirty rectangles stream. Actually, tell you what, I can probably use my phone for that. Again, the dirty rectangles things sometimes takes a little while to get set up, so okay, I don't see them online now. Let me just make sure. I did see a tweet, so Sorry for the radio silence. I'm just trying to make sure that the thing I was going to host is still going on. Next Wednesday. Good Lord. I'm a dummy. Okay, so it turns out Dirty Rectangles is next week, not this week. I screwed up again. So, sorry, I'm just going to adjust my tweet a little bit. Okay, tell you what, I might need to take a minute or two to I might need a minute to get some dinner, because like I kind of thought I would be eating dinner right now while the Dirty Rectangles thing was going on, but I am happy to take the opportunity for a little bit more Titan. So I don't know, how do you all feel about it? Would it be okay if I took a few minutes for a break now and came back, or would it be better if I did that a little bit later in the future? I don't know if anybody has a strong view one way or the other on when I do that. Okay, I got a tweet ready for when I come back. So tell you what, I'm a little reluctant to do this, but I actually do need to eat. So I'm going to take a slightly longer break than before. Let me just take a second here to get the menu up. I'm sorry to do this, but I genuinely was expecting to be done at this point. So I am going to hit the pause button here so you can enjoy the music. And again, because we live in a commercial world, I am going to run ads. If you don't have an ad blocker on, please get it. But I am going to take some time to eat. I'm going to try to keep it around 5-ish minutes or so. And what I'm going to try and do in exchange, so I was going to be streaming for about another, under normal circumstances, I would be streaming for another hour, which would, be my usual runtime. But seeing as I started an hour early and I may have the time available, I'll see if I'm able to run a little bit longer. The only reason I'm hesitant on that is I have also needed to I've kind of needed to get some extra sleep because I'm still not 100% well. But yeah, I'm gonna eat something. I'll try and eat as quickly as I can, and we'll be back for at least another hour of Titan after that. So I will see you all in a little bit, and I will let the music run while I'm chowing down. Sorry, my mouth's still full. Okay. Sorry about that. But good news that we get more Titan. Excuse me. Okay. So we're still things haven't really changed from where we were before. So my feeling here as far as the smokestack is concerned, there is a small argument, excuse me, for doubling it up. Excuse me. The reason... Actually, you know what? Running 2 smokestacks might be an idea. Nah, I'll leave it be. But yeah, my feeling right now is I'm going to keep the one running, just the one running, because the bottleneck on it is really just like getting the waste to it. And so I feel like until I properly deal with that, there's no point in like really boosting the productivity. I am, however, going to try and move on to the transport hub. So it's pretty clear here that at 90%, it's very unlikely that I'm going to be able to get the second ship up in the sky. I mean, maybe it would make sense for me to at least try. But the question is like, what am I giving up in order to be able to get this second ship underway? And in this case here, I'm giving up the possibility of connecting these two regions together. I think I'm gonna wait till the next workday starts, but once it does, I think I'm gonna buy another building, and a storage facility seems to be a really sensible one to buy right now. So actually I put the storage facility here, but but yeah, the reason why I don't want to do it until the next work shift starts, I may need these credits for repairing stuff. Okay. So I'm going to put this transport hub down on top of the waste. It's a little bit of a... So it's not the best decision because like trying to move this waste is going to deny me the storage space for, you know, some other waste movement. Excuse me. But I do kind of want to clear out the space. The thing is that this transport hub on its own isn't very useful. The transport hub becomes useful once I put roadways down, and those roadways are going to take a while. Because again, they're 25 construction units a pop. There's other things I'd like to use those construction units for. Although, you know, getting the waste under control is actually a pretty big deal for me, so... It did occur to me that if I do the roadway like this, I actually get a little extra space for some of my stuff. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I'll clear it out. So I suppose the other question is, what do I want to do with my influence now that I've got some of the basics taken care of? We're doing okay for red artifacts for now. That'll probably change when... I think that'll probably change once... once I get the science building up. I think for now, for the minerals, I'm just going to wait out and build the second transport hub. Well, I do have a decent number of tier 2s, so there's a side of me that wonders whether or not I should use some of these tier 3s that I've gotten. Well, okay, if I put it up to a factory tier 3, I'm not going to be able to upgrade anything else. So that's probably not the done thing right now. But yeah, I should maybe keep an eye out for when I can upgrade the factory to that final floor, because obviously that's going to help me out in terms of cash. Looks like we're actually stuck in a world where at 50. Oh no, hang on. It's because the workday hasn't started yet. All right. Yeah, I think we're actually just gonna sit. I think we're just gonna sit these things out, and we'll wait to properly build a transport hub. I guess the one thing I can do though is start buying some trucks. Normally, I like to, keep people's paychecks from them for trucks, but yeah, I'm also clearing out this ruins right away, just because we know that the roadway is gonna go through here, so. This kind of corridor, we'll turn this into Factory 6. Now again, the reality of the situation is that I don't need to worry as much about clearing out Factory 6, because in the end, this thing is going to get demolished, and we're going to have like a dedicated mine and factory set up for isotopes and a dedicated mine and factory set up for minerals. The question is whether or not those are going to be done in time. I think the reality is that it doesn't cost me a whole lot to have a road running through here, especially because I may want to send a road to the headquarters, because it's got a storage facility for it already. But I am definitely going to double up the transport hub, so that there's no question on that side. I just need 2 more tier 3s. So my preference would be that... Okay, yeah, so we do have a couple of tier 2s. You know what? I'm actually going to turn off the tier 3 module for a little bit. This is just so I can... So one of the problems that I've had has been some of these buildings don't necessarily require a tier 3 isotope. And in the end, right, like, the reason why I use these lower level resources is because, like, I avoid using tier 1s because tier 1s can eventually become tier 3s. I avoid using tier 2s in some cases because, again, tier 2s can sometimes become tier 3s. But there are also some things that you construct that simply do not require a higher level resource. And so it's not you're not necessarily doing yourself any favors by spending the waste slot and the time to produce a higher tier version of something that you don't necessarily need. So in this case here, I'm just kind of building a little bit of a base of lesser isotopes for some basic stuff I'm going to do, like just a couple of joins and whatnot. It may not mean all that much of a difference just because of the amount of time it's going to take us to do certain things, but I'm sticking with that story. Yeah, we'll combine these two, buy as many trucks as we can, and the first road we're going to build goes to the smokestack. Second road we're going to build goes to the factory. I mean, we could do it either way because both ends need to be connected before it becomes useful to us. Actually, I guess the one that would make a little more sense is to actually do the one from the smokestack to the transport hub, because that actually has the waste. Yeah, I'm actually going to start building the roads on spots that have waste first. Which won't be the end, like, it's not going to be a big deal one way or the other, but... Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that even once we do have the roadway in place, it doesn't mean there's going to be a constant stream of trucks filling up the smokestack. Again, it depends on how like what the workers kind of decide their biggest priority is. But the one thing I can do is at least get the infrastructure in place. Another thing I want to try and do is if I can spot high quality extractions. So I'm thinking of these obsidian ruins, for instance. I think I want to try and start saving towards those. If I have an opportunity to get like a good piece of land, I'll take it. There's a small argument for me to build a command center to try and get the extra influence from this. I'm reluctant to do that just because I think I'm already spreading myself kind of thin. I think getting my infrastructure in place first, and then sort of the rapid expansion second is sort of the ideal. Also, we are getting ready for a rebel threat, so we'll just turn on the turret, get ready to go. I didn't realize this was a relay. So a little short on the red artifacts. Oh yeah, we can afford to turn off the alarm because of the... This is a fairly... I mean, it's about... I guess it's as weak as the energy pylon, but this does save me a little space. So what's nice here is I've got a nice big energy pylon, and then this relay from the ruins covers all this area. So it just happens to be that little extra that I needed for the mine. We should be getting ready for the start of a workday soon.
Watch me as I find every weak point, every shaky foundation, every miserable little structure in your city and tear it all down.
We won't give them that chance. Battle stations, Founder.
Okay, so we're ready to go. We've got the Molten Lion. If they go after some of our more sensitive locations, the only thing I'm not crazy about is that they arrived. Well, you know what? Let's see where they go. So you have a second. Okay, so clearly this ship, the Hammer, is heading towards something that can't protect itself. So, I'm going to start by focusing on their weapons. Okay, and they got caught by the turret, so yeah. So I'm pretty sure we'll win this face-off. If nothing else, the Molten Lion's going to be able to sort of wear down this this ship, and then we'll be able to help out the turret when the time comes. So notice here, right? So first of all, I think this relay is strong enough to be able to sustain some of the damage. But more importantly, we don't lose too much firepower. We're still able to sort of put the hurt on the enemy units as as we're getting repairs done. I might want to mess around with the order a little bit because I do have a gunner that's sort of getting, moving away from their laser in order to, repair some things that aren't in immediate danger. So this is a fantastic example of something that, we really didn't need to repair, right? Like, we could have taken out this gunner, and we didn't because they're spending time repairing certain... Hopefully that works a little better. There's only 2 left. We've been focusing on the weaponry just because it's, it'll limit the damage that we wind up taking. The hope is that the crew members are the ones that to fall to that, but. Okay, so they're kind of trapped in the same dilemma as us. All right, so crew member down. Okay. And I believe this is
Not too tired to put up a good fight, I see. Never mind. This only makes me more determined to beat you.
So I believe this was an update in the latest update, where if you take out the crew, the ship is destroyed. And we earned a little more. So this is almost the first branch of the journey. I mean, we still have a way to go, but feeling a little bit better about our prospects of hooking up our network. If nothing else, getting this linked to the transport hub will remove the warning. So we'll lose a little bit of cash while we get the repairs in, but I'm fine with that. What I will admit is I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to pull it off, but I would like to have not just a second ship in time for the next Rebel wave, but I'd actually like to have sort of a proper. I kind of like to have proper coverage of all the defense turrets, because again, we're fairly well situated as far as power and fuel is concerned, and we have sort of obvious places where we can get our next next batch, if you will. So it's, I don't know, like it's just one of these cases where I kind of failed the goal of growing quickly at the start, but I suppose now I can at least expect for myself to grow gargantuan, right? And to become a proper megacorp. Anyways, looks like we're... Oh, wow. I was not expecting us to be full on resources like this. That explains a lot. Okay, so this is a little earlier than I wanted, but we don't have the threat from the rebels anymore, so we're going to buy a storage facility. Now, I'm not going to feel great about doing this, but I think it's very important that I do this. Wow, storage facilities are cheap. So this is actually going to be a one-stop shop for the storage facility. Eventually this is going to be dedicated to isotopes, but rather than just kind of build for everything, we'll start off with what we need. Actually, while I'm at it, I can get the factories down as well. Alright, so we're on our way to the next leg of the journey. How much does it cost to upgrade? So there's a little bit of an argument for a dedicated waste storage block. So I could actually even just put it here. I think I'll get the road network down first. We're not. I'll keep this in the shipyard for now. But yeah, eventually we should launch this and build a second. Alright, so they're already taking everything. That's good. Eventually, again, this will become dedicated for isotopes, but we're nowhere near ready for for that kind of infrastructure. I do like seeing lots of construction activity, though. It makes me feel like I'm accomplishing something. Okay, yeah, we're doing okay cash-wise. We do still need to pay our workers, but I don't think trucks are gonna push us over the edge. It is a little more important for me to make sure that the workers get paid on time, like that, just because I don't know when I'm going to build another ship and want to convert some more citizens. So it's sometimes nice to do mean things like buy capital to increase the value of your the value or your revenue generating potential. But every once in a while, playing like a supervillain does actually have consequences. So you kind of got to pick when you're willing to short your staff. So this is another trouble area. So we've got 3 waste. Although we're getting a little bit better with our storage capacity. And then once this storage facility comes online, we should be even better. Again, I am going to build dedicated storage for waste. I'm just a little reluctant to do that. I'm a little reluctant to do that while we don't have a roadway to our public enemy #1 waste generator. But we're getting pretty close to a point where we're ready to move stuff out. So the good news is a lot of the stuff we've been that's been holding up our production, that's all going to wind up going into this building. It's not a silver bullet, by the way. So the one drawback about this is because it's like it accepts everything, which is nice because that's given me a nice big sort of shot in the arm as far as the ability to just move stuff is concerned. The drawback too is that if I don't come up so let's say all storage worked this way. My tidal wave of garbage would prevent me from being able to make higher tier minerals because there'd be no place to put them. So this is why, I don't know, in my opinion, specialization helps quite a bit. But then again, the drawback can be, okay, specialization, yeah, I get it, but did you really when you see the factory that I'm going to build, you might reasonably ask, okay, but did you actually have to have that many isotopes? You've focused so much on this one thing, or you've specialized so much on this that losing that factory really hurt you, or you've spent so much time specializing that you've neglected some other things that your workers could be doing. So. As with anything, you got to try and find a balance. But for now, I guess the best I can say is we knew we were going to have we knew that we were going to have a storage facility here anyway. So opening this up for everything gives us the temporary boost we need. And then once the other details are sort of handled, I'm going to be able to sort of turn it around, and this will be dedicated for isotopes. This is going to be dedicated for processing, and then I think I'll just make a sort of a dedicated waste storage facility here. But again, I want to make sure that the road connects to the factory before I try anything else. So I can start claiming some of these obsidian ruins, but I do tend to notice I don't take advantage of these really good ones just because of their cost. Now, admittedly, there are things that I can do to make the... this can tick up faster if I build the ruin monument. But again, I am not in a state where I'm generating enough... enough tier 3 minerals to just build whatever I want. We're going to be working on that in just a moment. One consideration that I'm going to have now is whether or not I want to turn off the tier 3 mineral generator for the next little while. The argument for would be it's very important that I get this factory up and running here. Actually, now that I think of it, we don't need this one already. And dismantling this will allow me to... playing with fire doing this. Dismantling this side of the operation will allow me to claim the resources. Why is this? What? Oh man, this should have been 3. Alright, I'm gonna dedicate a couple people to some moving resources. So this will create idleness in the staff, but in this case I've got a few. At this point I'm kind of at a place where I know I'm gonna want a few jobs to be done as soon as they're available. And I'm okay having a couple of idle employees if it means that the things that need to get done reasonably quickly. I will confess, and I'm not 100% sure how you can do this otherwise. Eventually I'm gonna have two specialized setups, and so when you tell people to focus on moving the isotopes where they need to go, like if you have that split over multiple buildings, I don't know if it results in people like jumping, from building 1 to building 2, building 1 to building 2, in a way that maybe you wouldn't necessarily want as an outside observer. But I feel like it is sometimes prone to doing that. It's not the reason why I specialize, but it's kind of a consideration. So it's why I do eventually want to move away from this setup anyway. But I more or less got rid of this because I was hoping I could get some tier 2 and tier 3 minerals. That is in fact why I assigned dedicated people to that job, but it doesn't actually seem to have materialized yet. So this is definitely going to take a while to get set up. Actually, you know what? While I'm at it, there's definitely things that I can use. I can use tier 3 minerals for, but for the time being, I actually think I value acquiring tier 2s and building stuff with them a little higher. Oh, there is one other thing I can do. No, I'm going to hold off for a little bit. This storage facility is kind of helpful here. So I did want to build that second storage facility just for waste, but I'm going to wait a little while on that. So I'm only going to build the first half. That's partly just a recognition that I don't quite have the staff that I would like for the full version. I feel secure enough now. It's a little premature, but I think I can kill the tier 1 on this end. Once it gets processed, I'll turn it off. It's the problem of having a dedicated worker on it. So that was the dedicated guy who's now heading over to the next one, which is fine. That's kind of what I want them to do. I do wish the output guy would take care of what they're supposed to do, though. So I do need to get some storage down at some point, but... Ah, I'm an idiot. Okay, cool. So we can spike that. We'll wait for it to get processed, then we can ditch the employee module and probably the processor. Okay, cool. So once the output module gets its isotopes taken out, we should be fine. And I think we can get rid of this storage container. It occurred to me that maybe I want to focus on another employee module first. There we go. So yeah, that should get the full line should be ready to go once they get the required materials there. I'd love to get the second line up and running to... Oh, sorry, I do need to put a waste module down. I'd love to get the second line up and running sooner rather than later, but I don't know, like, I do need to think a bit about where my next batch of workers and you know, and the income to pay for them is coming from. So for now I'll be content with one sort of foundational factory. The ideal version has... Sorry. The ideal version has two sets. So there's two production lines. So basically there's the path to go to tier 3, but because I do find it helpful to have the tier 2 material, there is usually another tier 1 to tier 2 set. And again, it's just a question in terms of the number of employees that I have available. So I am going to add the second employee module just because it's nice to have. In this case, it's a nice to have, and I think it's something I can afford. But I won't build the second production line until I'm a little more secure in the number of workers that I have. Again, they have a dedicated person for like putting things in and taking things out, so I'm not as freaked out about having stuff just kind of hanging out. I am willing to turn on the mineral line again. So the reason this is okay to do now is I want to build those storage facilities again, and two, I would like to I'm trying to think of the right way to put it. Like, there isn't as much... until I get the next ship built, there's not going to be a lot of need for the tier 2 mineral materials. So it's better for me to have things that will help me build the large scale stuff than something that'll allow me to build modules a little more efficiently. I'm debating as to whether or not I would like to get rid of these relays, because I think I did say, yeah, well, I mean, I did say this was temporary, so I should commit to it. I don't want to go too crazy with getting rid of the waste receptacles. Obviously, I still need to be able to produce minerals in here, but we'll at the very least clear out this side of the business. I mean, if it comes down to it too, I can always like fill this with a bunch of energy generators and such. But that's a tomorrow me problem. Okay, I'd love to buy some more trucks, but let's leave that be for now. I'm going to start claiming some obsidian ruins. Yeah, this is the most expensive one, so we'll start there. So yeah, I mean, we're actually we're in not a bad spot now. I think before I go too much further, what I'm actually going to do is build the smokestack instead of the storage facility. I can probably afford the storage facility as well, but given that we've got a little bit of a better run, like notice how that storage capacity is doing pretty well. I want to take advantage of that. I want to get the efficiency of the smokestack up, because the sooner we can get rid of the waste, the happier I'll be. Particularly the sooner I can get rid of the waste in like this building, although this isn't really hurting anything right now, so maybe I should reconsider that. I don't know. Okay, so let's do that storage facility I was threatening to build. So this will switch to isotopes. This will be dedicated for waste. And in fact, I'm going to disable this for waste, and I'm going to turn this into a general storage block. So we still have enough room. Like, this is not a threat, turning this off. It just means that I'm eventually going to have to clean it out and replace it with things. Again, we don't plan on keeping these here forever. I'm essentially just waiting to get my satellite built up here. And it is becoming an increasing priority, not so much because we're in danger of losing our tier 1 minerals. It's just I would kind of like a more efficient operation running. Actually, with that in mind, I guess I'm really not... Yeah, I wonder what the holdup on this is. Like, don't we have a dedicated mineral input guy? So we got 2 mineral input jobs going. This is very curious. Like, we've got the tier 1 minerals sitting here. We've got an open slot. We've got a dedicated employee, which is assigned. So I probably should reconsider this, but I am going to build the second employee module here. Yeah, I'm very weirded out. Oh, okay, well, there it goes. This, of course, implies a sort of an intention to expand towards civilian buildings, which I am absolutely going to do. I need to kind of work out the full logistics of it, but the time has come to have an even bigger workforce. So this is kind of the ideal spot according to this desirability map. Oh, and that fits. The only thing I don't like about this is that I can't fit a highway through it. So I'm going to have to work around that. But I guess what I can do with my influence, so I'm going to make the roadway go up like this. So it's a little undesirable to do because this factory is currently where people live, which means there's going to be pollution that gets generated. That's just going to have to be an unfortunate reality of life. Like, it'd be nice if I could avoid pollution, but it's even better if I can avoid the waste. So let's, at this point I should probably be buying out the last of the buildings that I need. So actually, you know what, even if our workers wind up without the cash, yeah, we're gonna miss payroll, but that's fine. The funny thing is I'm not even going to be able to build these until our tier 3s are considerably better, but I'm not happy till they're not happy. We'll see if we can buy another truck before the work shift's done. Yeah, so we only lost 25 in pay on that work session. Okay, but yeah, so the kind of the forward-looking plan here is going to be get the road in place for one, for the shipyard, but two, so that we can eventually build a mining operation. I'm thinking probably the road up like this. I'm just trying to think if there's any value in actually running a road here. Well, I guess I could do this, and we have like the mine on the other side, so like a mine factory. Yeah, okay, so run something like this. Mine, factory, and we can put the storage sort of anywhere in these areas. It's not ideal, but like it'll do. All right, so this is going to be my waste. I'll make it a waste and mineral just because we don't have a dedicated mineral source yet, but we are going to turn this off for waste for the next little bit. I'm also going to... So this is going to hurt us in our ability to process waste, but let's connect that smokestack. Again, efficiently getting rid of waste is a higher priority now just because we're going to want to... I don't know, like we just kind of want to grow, and we want to get rid of things that are in the way of that growth as rapidly as possible. But yeah, I think See, I keep saying that I really want to build that extra mine, or that like mineral mine, but it's actually not. The more I think about it, the more I realize that's not a big idea. So like, here's what I'm thinking about this. We've currently got 210 minerals, so like that's, at this rate, it's going to take us a very, very long time to actually process all of this stuff. The bottleneck doesn't actually seem to be our access to minerals. So, I could, in theory, actually convert this entirely to a mineral facility, and that would probably see faster processing than just building something up here. So again, I'll lay the foundations. I'll get the infrastructure down at the very least for like these buildings. But I think what I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to start building the civilian buildings. And again, I got to look at the desirability of work areas. So this maybe surprises me a little bit. I think what I'm going to do here is I am actually going to put a big circle of like roadway. I got to work around the activated battery, but yeah, I mean, we can definitely make this work. Actually, okay. So I can put an office right in the middle here. I don't know, residences wherever, but yeah, I actually like some of the idea. Oh, hang on. Yeah, no, this still works. Okay, it's going to be a little weird, and it's probably not going to work very well as far as the, like the emissions reduction is concerned. But I guess I can't it's better than the current housing that I have, let's say. So it's going to take 200 for a residential, 300 for an office, and then eventually I need to build a conversion center. I actually also need to build a research center. Maybe I want to get that done first. Science lab. Okay, I'll save up for the science lab first, and then we can consider the next steps. Yeah, and the rebel threat's only 26%, so we're actually in a pretty good spot. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the overall plans for the Corp. The reason why we built this little satellite office here... Actually, sorry, there are a couple of other things that I need to get done here. So, for instance, I did want to get a defensive turret down. Because, like, this is its own little world now, right? And in particular... You know, I'd like to be able to defend the smokestack and its ability to eliminate waste. But the biggest reason why I made sort of this satellite here was to kind of secure a supply of isotopes, because we used up what we had immediate access to. And it wasn't obvious that we were going to get a big new set of like isotope patches, or basically in general, there were a number of factors that said I would want to secure a source of isotopes sooner rather than later. And one nice side effect of getting that isotope mine set up was that it allowed me to do the factory and and just generally make my move there. The reason why the same argument doesn't apply for minerals is just because we have so many tier 1 minerals through other activities that we've taken. It doesn't really matter if the factory's here or up here. Eventually we will do sort of a super factory, but it's not the biggest priority right now. And because we're still earning minerals at a relatively slow pace, I'm going to want to think a bit about what my priorities are. So on that note of priorities, one thing that will help my production efforts will be to have a very large number of workers, right? The more workers I have, the more conversion I can do from tier 1 to tier 2 to tier 3. If we start finding that I don't have enough minerals or I don't have enough isotopes to be able to get that conversion done at a good clip, that means I need to build more mines or upgrade them or whatever. But I really shouldn't be focusing on that until I start running into that bottleneck. So that means the next few turns, I say turns, but the next bit of planning that I need to do should be oriented towards getting the infrastructure in place that will allow me to support a reasonably sized workforce. So that means offices and residences to be able to have workers going to work. That's going to mean... I was just thinking about it. Maybe I could do the it doesn't. I was thinking of putting an office in here, but it actually seems like this would be a good spot for an energy plant. Speaking of, the energy plant would need 48, so I would need to get another fuel turbine down as well. I don't know, something for me to think about in the future. But yeah, so basically residences and office complexes are going to be what give me and conversion centers eventually. That's going to be what gets me what I need to take my enterprise to the next level. So, or Citicorp. Let's start though with a science lab. I could actually probably double it up. This is kind of nice real estate to be giving up for the science lab, but I don't really think there's an obvious place. Like, I guess I could put a residence down or something like that, but I'm kind of going to already have it all over here, so... Actually doing quite well with our isotopes now, so perhaps an upgrade to the smokestack. Actually, you know what? Upgrade to everything. Including the factory, or the work from home setup. Even though I'm probably not going to keep it, it's going to be nice to have a third floor of things that can earn me money. I don't know which one just finished its upgrade. I'm thinking maybe put a turret down here. Needs 400 minerals, so I'm probably not in a position to do that right away, but... Oh, the science lab was what finished. Wow, I really chewed through those surplus isotopes. Still, it's all useful stuff, so. I'm going to start running short on workers soon, so I got to be a little careful. So isn't that clean, given given all the effort that we've put into maintaining this stuff? Okay, Science Lab's up and running, so let's access the tech web. Actually, first thing we're going to do, we've not heard Braxton Daw.
Why, if it isn't our illustrious founder! A pleasure to meet you. I'm Dr. Braxton Daw, your new research director. Yes, the very same brilliant scientist famed for my weather prediction system back on Earth. Oh, it's quite embarrassing, really. I can't even go into space without being recognized. I am absolutely giddy with the possibilities that your little corporation is providing me. I will be sure to keep you abreast of my discoveries. I know you'll be happy with my work.
So a few different priorities in the tech web for the start. So energy drink, faster employee movement's going to help me. The roadways kind of help with that, but not fully. So just being able to have employees walk around a little bit faster is good. I do like the idea of demographic targeting, so a 15% bonus to citizen ad revenue, especially because we're going to be adding more. Obviously, percentage-based things work really well when you have lots of people to realize those benefits. And then research efficiency is also kind of nice, but it's not, just compared to some of the others, is not as big of a deal. The pollution resistance is nice as well. That's going to be something that'll help me preserve... It'll basically help me preserve, what am I trying to say? It will help me preserve influence through not needing to replace more workers. But, just compared to the utility of some of the other nodes, it's not as high of a priority. So if I want to improve the efficiency of the science lab, I can... Wow, we're already up to 81 on the isotopes. That's a really efficient factory. Yeah, why not? We can get away with it, so...
If you keep me talking, Founder, I'll never get any work done.
Hey, Founder, I'm Sola Irala, your one and only Chief Logistics Officer. You call me if you want something or someone to go from point A to point B. I've been doing this a long time, and I've seen and moved it all. Vats of blood, live octopus, bodies, an 8-foot statue of Aenar Pir herself once. Just give me some time to rig a vehicle together, and I'll get it moving. Hey, Founder, you know you can increase the maximum number of trucks in your transport hub, right? You just gotta upgrade or connect them for all that extra parking space for those big, beautiful beasts. You can never have too many trucks, that's what I always say.
I believe that is the Irala family motto.
Hey, Founder, I've got everything I need for now. Don't you worry.